Hey guys, welcome to OnlyFounders. It's Anne, and today we are joined by a very dear friend of mine, Ben Whitehair. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Hi, Matt. Matt over in Houston. How are you doing today, Matt?
As usual, chaotic. Chaos. Every day is a chaotic day right now. So
busy,
we're making it work.
Well, I'm excited for today's guest because I have known Ben for 17 years.
Yeah.
And Ben is actually a best friend of my husband since high school.
Yeah.
So I got to acquire Ben as a friend, and then we became fast friends. So now we are friends, which is phenomenal. But Ben has a really amazing track record of founder-isms. So serial entrepreneur, so many things that we're going to talk about in this episode, but also a unique blend of being an actor here in Los Angeles. And so we are live in LA. It's beautiful. I wish I could take you around the hills where we're filming today. It's gorgeous. But I think that I've watched Ben's journey of being a business founder, a business leader, and an actor. And for me, that's super inspiring. So today we're going to get into it, and we're going to ask Ben all about his journey. Sound good?
Amazing.
All right. And currently, Ben is the executive director for Calling All Crows. So what I want to start with is, what is Calling All Crows? Let's talk about that.
Calling All Crows is a nonprofit. We work with music fans and artists to fuel feminist movements. So we do a couple different things in terms of what that looks like right now. We have a program called Here for the Music, which has been around for a number of years, but really launched. We got a big grant from Spotify to essentially create the newest iteration of that. But so it's all about creating safety at live events, particularly music, but really anything. And then our other campaign is really focused on reproductive health care and making sure that women can have access to the healthcare that they need.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. That's amazing.
How did you get into these things?
The people.
I'm curious now, like, because they're kind of, two of them are similar, but one of them is not. So
my dear friend, who I would consider both a mentor and a friend, who's been an incredibly successful woman in tech, like C-suite, and was the woman in a C-suite in tech for, the better part of the last 40 years. And I met her at my last company that I was the COO of a social media company. And she was one of our clients. And I'd been working with her and then coaching her on a number of things that she was wanting to do in the entertainment industry. And so I was coaching her on that, and she was coaching me on my essentially career transition. I had finished at the social media company and was looking for my next thing, and through her got connected to the nonprofit.
It's a people thing, Matt. We talk about this all the time.
It's all people.
Jobs don't really exist. People collect good people. And then when they want to work with you, they will create positions, or they will find you for those positions. This is true. I guest lecture about it all the time. So it's a clear example of a relationship brought in a job opportunity because of the people. Yeah.
And I've coached people. I've done a lot of coaching over the years, and particularly around finding a job, creating a job, whatever that looks like. I think that's the stat, you could look it up, but I think it's something like 86% of jobs do not come from like submitting on a job board. It comes from some kind of referral. It's like a staggering number.
Yeah.
And I have found that I've hired a lot of people, and have hired people from like straight up job boards that they've submitted, and like that has been a thing. But I would say, probably 80% of the people I've hired for any of the businesses we've had have come through some referral or otherwise. And then when I was looking for a job, it was no different.
I refuse to actually, if I'm looking for people, post it anywhere, because I don't have the bandwidth. I'm inundated with going through all of that, and I don't have a person.
Yeah.
And so if I had a person, maybe, but I actually prefer, because it's an energy thing, asking people for relationships. So when I'm looking to hire, I literally ask people. I never even put it online. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I didn't know it was as high as the 80s, the 80%.
I think so. I mean, double check.
Makes sense.
Like, don't quote me on that, but it's a staggeringly high number.
Yeah.
I think it's the same for raising money. All the in past companies has always, the best ones have been by referral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That warm introduction. And I still had the skill set for the job, and like was bringing a lot, but just to get in the room and find those opportunities And like you said, good people collect good people. And so then when I'm being referred to their people, I'm like, oh yeah, these are amazing people.
Yeah, exactly. I actually hire for energy first and skill set second. So if I'm looking for people, I ask for the people to do the interview, and if the energy is there, then I'm like, okay, so what can you do?
Yeah.
it's like the afterthought, because I just want the relationship first, and I go, okay, so tell me your talents. Because also, I think that we put ourselves in a box, and as we go through work, we forget all the other things that we could do. And so oftentimes we forget that there's other jobs and there's other talents that we have that we just haven't been able to do at work. So when you do that too, you can say, well, what do you like to do? Well, I have a hobby of, like, for example, my videographer, Justin, I remember the first time, we've actually known each other since we were like 10. It's very much a relationship thing. But when we reconnected, he was talking to me about this like hobby YouTube channel that he'd had since he was a teenage boy, because he loves making videos, and it has hundreds of thousands of views. And I was like, why did you not bring this up in the beginning of us talking? Because you're clearly skilled at doing video. And I didn't have him doing all of these tasks within the role of the video production, and then also going and optimizing them and creating the whole YouTube channel for the client. It was this whole thing. So now moving forward, as we shift, and Fix and Form is kind of evolving its brand, I'm like, Justin, you are everything video, because look at this hobby, that's work. He's like, no. And he's making these amazing hobby videos, but this is just an example of that. Whatever you enjoy doing, this is a talent. You're really great at this. This should also be a part of your job, and it can be. So I think it's a really great opportunity when you meet really cool people to be like, well, what can you do? And then you just don't keep them in that box. Whereas if you're doing the traditional job board, it's like, this is the job, this is the description, and then you're only narrowly going into it like, I'm going to be X, so let's talk about X.
Yeah.
And then you're never like, oh, but I can do all these A, B, C, D, like all these other things, you know? Okay, so Ben, I want to talk about your acting career.
Yeah.
This is huge, okay? So what have people seen you in first? Like, I know there's a bunch of commercials and movies.
It depends what you watch. Let's see. Recently, I was in the pilot of the NCIS Origins, that spinoff. I did an episode of Law and Order Organized Crime. I was in the movie Vengeance, the BJ Novak and Ashton Kutcher and Issa Rae. That was super fun. I was in a movie with Matthew McConaughey that nobody saw called Bold.
We saw it.
Well, yeah, because you're my friend, so I have to watch it. But I mean, you can look at my IMDb. I've done a number of film and television.
How do you even evolve as you have for so many years as an actor? And how do you start that business? Evolve
in the business of it. One of the things that I realized early on, because of my entrepreneurial background, I co-founded a company in college. So even before I moved to LA to pursue acting, was that if you want to make money as a creative, it's a business, and you don't have to want to make money. Like, there are plenty of actors who don't make money, or who are doing, or make a small amount of money, but it's community theater, it's this, and could not be a bigger fan of the arts. And I think more art, done, do it. You don't have to want to make money. But if you're like, hey, I want this as a career, I want a certain level of success in that silo, which is different than creative fulfillment or impact in that way. It's like, it's a business. And so pursuing it as a business, and I would say my acting career over, going on 20 years, I've been in LA since 2009, has continued to evolve the way that a lot of solopreneur type endeavors also evolve, right? And now I spend less time than I've ever spent on the business side of it, and I'm working more because I've spent 10, 15 years, and the first 10 years hustling, and I was ton of time and relationships and understanding the business and working on the craft and all of those things, to the point where now I have the relationships and a team that are doing so much, in the same way that you grow any company, where I'm not the one doing all of it, but I was for a very long time. In the same way that the first company we started in college, at the beginning we're doing everything. It was all of it all the time. And then eventually now we have other people and we have a team and we have leverage and we have relationships and can build to that. But it was certainly not that at the beginning.
And so you're like the CEO of your actor journey. And
I say that all the time. I'm not the first person to say it. You know, if you are the CEO of your own company, and if you're in a creative profession, acting, dancing, creative writing, whatever, increasingly, I think people will say that, but that was certainly not the messaging I got early on was, oh, hey, you're the CEO of a company. It's a startup. You're going to need, it's you and you're also the product.
Matt, you were going to say something?
Yeah. How are you getting things off the ground? Because I know a lot of folks in the creative and performing arts, like the hardest thing is landing paying gigs, and then two, eventually making it worthwhile to keep doing and not burning yourself out. Because it's like, a lot of times is like really low pay. So how did you solve that piece? Because that's probably the biggest barrier.
I solved that piece by having other companies or jobs that made me enough money that I didn't have to rely on acting for my income. And I think that's true of most creatives I know. I also knew about myself that I wanted a certain level of income and lifestyle just in terms of my day-to-day, and a certain level of the life that I wanted to be living. And I have other friends I know, actors that I went to college with that moved to LA. There's someone in particular I'm thinking of who moved to LA, I don't know, like 6 months before I did. He's been incredibly successful and worked all the time. And he had a very different approach and slept on couches and made less money, but put even more focus and priority on his acting career. And it has worked out. There's also a ton of stories of people who did that and weren't able to stick around long enough. And I think that was the thing that I've seen so often, is that there are people who are better actors than I am, who certainly were more talented, all the things, but weren't able to stick around long enough to get to the success. Because the other thing about a creative career that is really challenging, like you bring up, Matt, is you might be having the equivalent of whatever level of success, like, oh, the person who just got promoted to, the director level in their thing, and then it's like massive. And the equivalent of that creatively may come with no money, or certainly not enough money to sustain yourself, because it's such a competitive career and it is sexy and people want to do it. And so it's a mind fuck a bit when you're like, wait a second, I'm achieving the thing. I booked the guest star role. That's the thing or whatever. And it's $10,000. And then there's taxes and 15% to a manager and 10% to an agent. And now I finally need to be able to go, I can afford to go buy new headshots. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, so that was nothing. A month of income. And it was the biggest thing I've done in my career. And genuinely, it's like, that's a really big deal. Like, that marker of success is huge, but it doesn't necessarily come with being able to sustainably pay your rent.
We talk about this a lot. The feeling of success, is it coming from money for your input, or is it coming from impact? And my question on that as a follow-up, which just hit me, is, let's say you do book that $10,000, guest star. Would the impact of you having that on your resume then help you get more jobs and bigger jobs? So Absolutely. Even though the money financially isn't it's a month's of rent, but is that impact greater with people, and then the clout, and it's like seeing that you booked that. So you have to view the success almost as kind of, we're viewing success as a lot these days on our episodes of, it's not necessarily the financial input for your time. It's the impact of what that time is going to give you in the future.
And can I take the long view of the career? Because if I can set myself up in such a way that I have the long-term mindset around it, same with a company, then I can make things focused on the impact that will lead to more money later. But I can prioritize, it would actually be a bigger impact to do this thing or whatever that may mean less money in my bank account. And again, that's a challenge. Like, not everybody can do that. And there's
And that's why you have
if you
the other
have kids
businesses.
and family, like it's a challenge. So that's partly for me why it's been a blessing to have these other, and I also just love starting, managing, growing organizations, entities, businesses, nonprofits, whatever that is. I really, really enjoy that. So I'm very fortunate that I also enjoy that.
Let's talk about that company that you started in college. Tell us
Yeah.
about that, because that is fascinating. And so what was it called? How did you start it? Where is it today?
I was in a group called the President's Leadership Class at CU Boulder, Go Buffs. And PLC was amazing. One of my now dear friends and mentors, he was like my kind of student teacher in that. Long story short, came to me one day and was like, hey, I have this idea for a business. Do you want to start it with me? And I was like, yeah, how hard could it be to start a business? Like, that sounds fantastic. Like, let's totally do that.
Yeah.
And
That's a typical 20s mindset anyway.
exactly, yeah. I'm like, I'm 18, 19, yeah, like, how hard could it be?
Whatever.
I've done hard things. And it was called Tuition Specialists. We were helping out-of-state students get in-state tuition and save money on college. And it was a service business. We were basically doing a lot of really laborious, boring paperwork and tactical things to meet the state law. And we ultimately saved students $30 million and their families $30 million on education. The company went away, the laws changed. We were in the midst of like a multi-state expansion, and we got to decide, do we want to reinvest and refocus and spend another couple years and be able to get to where we were, or do we shut it down and focus on other stuff, and decided the latter. But it really is what allowed me to then also move to LA and also pursue acting, and was doing both of those things simultaneously. And talking about founding things, I've had of all the businesses I've started, I've always had at least a co-founder. And for me, that's been necessary. I guess acting is the one exception where you sort of can't have a co-founder the same way,
right,
but have brought in a team and have very much focused on mentors, coaches, literal agents, managers, building that team. So not co-founders in the same way, but very much building towards that. And would say that none of the businesses that have had any success would not have happened without the co-founders. And Will, who I started that first company with, then started a couple other companies with. And he's brilliant, and he's much smarter than me and incredible. And a lot of the success is because I've been able to be surrounded by amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
How are you managing burnout? Because you do a lot of things. You've done a lot of things in your past, but it doesn't. I'm not seeing where the faults are happening, right? Because in order to reach these levels of success, you really got to go through some really turbulent times. So how are you managing this stuff?
I have similarly been fortunate to be surrounded by really amazing humans, and that's made a massive impact. I also had the privilege of graduating college without any student loan debt, had a business already that was at least giving me enough of an income to live in LA and do the things. And I've been thinking about this a lot, because so often, here I am on the flip side. I'm like, oh, I get enough sleep now. About to have a baby, so that's going to change in the next 2 weeks. That will not be true. But, for the last couple of years, I've been getting enough sleep, and it's been lovely and a thing, but that's been very seasonal. And when I look back at the at least decade, maybe probably closer to decade and a half or two, it was not balanced. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I was getting enough sleep and the thing and whatever. No, I was working 40 to 60 hours a week on the business that we were starting, often at random hours. And I was working 40 to 60 hours a week. And again, sometimes I would slide to be 80 weeks on this and then 40. And it was, but pursuing acting and the business and moving to a new city and attempting to pursue a social life. And I wasn't sleeping. I was, but
Like 4 hours a night.
4 to 6 hours a night for a long time, which I also did in high school. I'm not recommending that, but when I look back, I'm like, the way that I was able to do as much as I did is because it wasn't particularly balanced. I also didn't have I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. Like if I'd had kids, it would be totally different. And that's part of, now I've got 2 incredible stepkids and one on the way. And so my priorities are very different. And the priority of short-term income versus long-term growth of a business, like that calculus has completely changed. My availability and the amount of time I'm spending with my family and social is totally different, which is why, for example, when I was the executive vice president of SAG-AFTRA, I was all volunteer and it was a ton of hours and it was great. But during that time is when I met my wife and now my stepkids. And I was like, oh, I can't, that no longer fits my priorities. So in terms of the burnout, I think it's been very seasonal. I have certainly had periods of physical burnout. I think the ones that have been harder to navigate was existential burnout. And I had this there was a period about 10 years into LA. So this would have been, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, where I looked around and I was like, oh, I've accomplished the things that I set out to do. There's still so much. There's always more and there's all these things I want to do and there's still all kinds of stuff. But ultimately I was like, oh yeah, the things that I was like, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to have this kind of success and I want to achieve this kind of thing and have these kinds of life experiences and meet these kinds of people. And I was like, oh, I have. And I think it was very healthy, but it really required me to rewrite the purpose and the driving force behind what I was doing. Because I think for that first 10 years, on some level, it was coming from a place of lack and some childhood trauma and like wanting to prove myself.
Self-worth. Oh, absolutely.
All of that, but which pretty good motivator, like got me to put in a lot of effort towards these things. And I was like, oh, I have them. Now what? And I didn't have the same inner drive. I was in a healthier place. I had done a tremendous amount of self-work and therapy and transformational coaching and all the rest, but it did completely change the driving force of what I was pursuing.
Was there ever a moment that you did not want to continue acting?
Yeah. I was sitting in essentially an acting class with a casting director. And it was like a movie where like the bolt of lightning strikes and you have this epiphany. And I was sitting there and I was having this moment. I'm like, what the, and essentially what the feeling was that I mostly recognized in the moment, but was essentially, it's not that I didn't like what I was doing.
Yeah.
It's that if my life looks exactly like it does right now, which I loved, I was very happy with. I'm like, if it looks exactly like this 10 years from now, Ben will be very unhappy. And so Did
that freak you out?
Oh, it totally freaked me out. And I hadn't had the doubt around creative that I'd watched a lot of people and coached a lot of people. I'm like, I've never had that. Like, I'm the exception. And then it happened. I was like, oh, this sucks. I have a lot more empathy for what those people had navigated. And so I really put a pause. Like I essentially said, if acting work comes my way, I'm not going to say no, because I still love it. I know some people that fall out of love with acting. I was like, oh, it's still my favorite thing. But so if it comes to me, I'll say yes, but I'm no longer going to actively pursue it. I'm going to focus on financial stability, and I want a family and I want kids, and I'm sort of refocus my energy towards those things. I was focusing on this other business that I was running. And so and then COVID, so it was at least a year, maybe a year and a half where I really didn't pursue it. I think like 1 or 2 things came and I did them and filmed the thing and it was great, not a big deal. And then woman found me, became my talent reach. I was like, hey, I'm interested in maybe talking about representation. You'll appreciate this founder story. So she was my talent manager. I then started getting a lot of auditions and she was great. And my career kind of started to pick up again. She, for various personal reasons, left the business. I then hired, because I'm like, oh, she has these amazing skill sets. She's great. I hired her to essentially be the chief of staff for the social media company, then left or whatever. And now I've hired her back at Calling All Crows in various different like job titles and types of companies, but the values, you talk about energy and values, and I continue to remind myself, especially with teams, I'm like, oh, they don't have this skill, like they're not good at this thing. And I'm like, that matters so much less than mindset, attitude, energy, values. Like if you have that, we can teach skills.
Absolutely.
When you're going through each like career phase, it almost feels chaotic every step versus linear. Like and not everyone's linear, but like my path, I go from software engineering to a consultant in software to eventually running business around software, right? So there's like a cone, but yours feels like there's a milestone and a period of chaos, and then then you go, and then you have another milestone, a period of chaos, and you go. Like, is that what it is? And if true, like I'm trying to understand, is it like more living in the moment in that case? Because I can't see the plan. It just feels chaotic.
I have a very diverse resume. I think what has been at the core of all of it is creating a business, creativity as an actor, like that act of creation of something didn't exist and now it exists, to me is so cool. Mm-hmm. And it's been working with really great people. And I've really enjoyed, especially as I've moved forward in my career, coaching, mentoring, managing, but really from a coach mindset and getting to develop people and watching their careers take off and watching them, whether it's continuing with an organization that I'm in or now they're off. Like I have one of the first employees of Tuition Specialists is in LA. He's now doing all kinds of YouTube content creation in the food space and is killing it. He's absolutely crushing it.
That?
Mario Fabry. And
cool.
And got into it because one day randomly with Tuition Specialists, I was kind of acting a thing and had a buddy and I was like, let's do a little commercial video thing that we could use on our website. Mm-hmm. And he came to that day and we were filming on the Boulder campus and he was like, well, this is the most fun I've ever had ever. And it was just this random, he happened like, I'll help out. And was like, oh my God, I love this. And now getting to watch him, and it's his career and he loves it and he's crushing it and he's making a difference and he's just the best guy. I'm like, that feels so good. Like I love seeing that. Or it's funny that they keep ending up in YouTube. There's a woman in my last company that I really mentored, from essentially like our customer service rep to basically getting her to take over as like the core people manager for a much larger company, and getting to coach and mentor her through that and seeing her growth and development. She on the side had a YouTube channel, and she's also running a YouTube channel. That's like, maybe that's everybody's like, I work with Ben.
Everybody's running
start a YouTube channel.
If you want to start a YouTube channel,
work for Ben. You'll be like, I can't deal with this at all. I'm gonna go start a YouTube channel. But seeing her success and all of that. So the through line for me, I think creativity and working with really great people and building things.
Yeah.
And that's the like nitty gritty impact. But I do really love the impact that business can have, the impact that policy can have, running a feminist nonprofit, people who know me go like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, oh, this makes sense.
I go, yeah, that makes sense, because it's the core values that have stayed consistent. Mm-hmm. What it looks like has certainly been less linear. And I think that is true of a lot of founders I know, because you kind of don't fit into the same boxes, and the things I want to do are varied.
I would view you as an opportunist, though. Like, I think too, because of it more being chaotic, it's more opportunity. So if you meet the right person who had an idea, or you had an idea and then you met the person for that idea, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's you're kind of evolving in all of these different jobs, and then you have another idea for something, and then you meet the right person. You're like, oh shit, we got to go create this, right? So when you're a creator, it's an opportunist of I'm gonna jump on this, but it doesn't have to make sense in a linear way.
And I think maybe deeper in that. So Ben, do you enjoy the blank canvas process? Every time you go through these stages, are you more like, you love it when it's a more blank canvas, or you love it when you have a foundation, you're pivoting from it? This will help me identify, kind of see where you're at.
I do very much enjoy the blank canvas, and I think I enjoyed the blank canvas even more when I was younger. Mm-hmm. with kids and 20 years of experience in business, I'm even more enjoying some foundation. Like Calling All Crows has been around for 18 years. They've done amazing things. There's people, there's assets, there's whatever, but it is very much a startup, and getting to come in and create, think, okay, we have some stuff here already. There's some money to it. Like that is nice when there's even some money to do stuff. Because when I'm starting from complete scratch and it's just my time, it is nice to have some, like, okay, I can buy this piece. I can hire this person for a day. Mm-hmm. That's going to save me a week. I can get there faster. Like that has been really nice. And so it's very similar. Like it still feels like a blank slate for me, but it
has foundation.
But there is a lot more foundation to it. And like my next endeavor, when we talk in a year or two from now, I will have purchased a business that I've been, for cash flow, that'll be working on growing, like the sort of entrepreneurship through acquisition, which for me feels really good as a next step because I've spent 20 years doing it a lot from scratch. I'm like, I know I could run any business.
So like in the past, maybe it was for sure like blank canvas. You don't really have the foundation, but you have no choice but to start somewhere. And then over time, as you get another blank canvas, you have a little bit of new foundation that built from the last period.
Absolutely.
And then that enables the new opportunities. Because like if there's just pure opportunity, like I have opportunities all the time. Like sometimes I'll just do like, okay, maybe we can buy this property, do an Airbnb rental on it, right? Whatever. That's different than what you're saying, because what you're saying is like, you are open to the idea of creating a new possibility that did not exist. And then you align it with with the financial piece, right? Which I think a lot of folks like kind of see that later, but you kind of, because you build the foundation each time, you add a little bit more financial opportunity to it.
Yeah.
Right. It's different. It's like, because you sound like more of a true creator, because true creator really love creating something from nothing, right? That's like to be really different. That's a different kind of opportunity. It's totally different because you're saying it doesn't exist. So you don't even know it's an opportunity. You really don't know.
Yeah. And I will say one of the things that I realized early on, this came from Will, the co-founder of that company. I realized, and this is my invitation to others, is that the specific job or like what our company was doing mattered almost not at all compared to who we were working with and the way that like getting to work on things that were within our skill set and zone of genius, and like getting outside students in state tuition, really boring. It's a really boring process. Mm-hmm. That's why people paid us for it, because it's a lot of boring. It's like paying someone to do your taxes. Could you do it on your own? Yeah. Do you want to do your corporate taxes and figure out the thing in the K1 and then like, no, I want to pay someone because it's boring. But that's why they paid us. So the thing itself was very boring. Mm-hmm. Some of the most fun I've ever had working, because the people I was working with and the skill sets and the creation, and this didn't exist and now it did. And I'm in a coffee shop working on this thing. I remember being in class in college and like not paying attention in class and just sitting on my laptop, like working on the business and building the website and reaching out to clients. And like, that was so fun. But realizing that like what the specific company does matters so much less than the people I'm working with and what I get to do. Mm-hmm. Further along in my career, like I'm able to be even probably more so like, oh my gosh, now I'm running a nonprofit around things that I'm deeply, deeply passionate about. And I think that alignment continues to get closer and closer. But I think it's so easy to get, I need to just be working on this one kind of thing. And for some people that's true. Like that may also be like, look, anything related to dentistry, I just am obsessed with. Cool, like do that. But for me, it was like, what we're doing matters way less than who I'm doing it with.
So how do you stay curious? Because when you're a creator, you are just exposed to so many things. So that's how the new ideas come in. So you're exposed to a lot of surface. So how do you stay curious? Because once you feel like you know a surface, it's very easy to be complacent. Like, oh, I've already done that. What else is next to do? It feels like you're not running out of ideas. So that means curiosity engine somewhere.
I think it came from two very curious parents who are very intellectually curious about the world. I homeschooled for 10 years, and we adhered to a philosophy called unschooling. And the core tenet of that essentially was, the world is amazing. It's my job to go see what I want to learn. And then my parents would facilitate, cool, you want to learn about that? Let's make it happen. My brother was super into the Civil War, and we read the books and watched the movies, and then went to Gettysburg, and we got to like be at the battlefield and see the thing and experience it.
Is that more Montessori?
Yeah, more like Montessori,
like
very like self-led. That was the approach. Mm-hmm. And so I think from a really early age, I'm like, yeah, the world, like the fact that we're alive is insane. Like genuinely, we're like on this rock.
We're here, and then here's
space. Woo! Like that's so insane. That's crazy. And I'm like in America and have like housing and whatever, and can go learn about anything. And we're in an age where this pocket device has all of the information on the planet. Like that's insane. That's so cool. So I'm very like, I'm just curious. I just am always.
Do you think there's aliens?
I think.
I'm not talking about bacteria. I believe there's bacteria. But there's probably bacteria in Europa, right? Underneath ice.
Sure.
But,
like sentient.
Yeah, something. How about something close to mammals, like a dinosaur? Like, do you think something like that?
It's above my pay grade.
I don't know either.
Brains are not
just thinking about it.
Our brains are not designed to comprehend really, really large numbers. And so here's my favorite stat. 1 million seconds is 11 and a half days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. The difference in scope from 1 million to 1 billion to 1 trillion to infinite. So my brain can't even comprehend an infinite universe.
No.
And that like the idea that we're the only mammal-like creatures in an infinite universe seems unlikely.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think too, right? Because like, even though we're in this like weird situation, you have to be in the Goldilocks zone, and then you have to have like everything right to go on Earth, and then you need it to have a random asteroid hit at some point to reset everything,
and to have gravity and the thing like that's crazy. But also evolution, right? But so we have the Goldilocks there, but could there be some evolution of another thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's way more nitrogen and a certain kind of life force than lives on nitrogen? I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems unlikely that we're the only
one.
No,
I 100%. I was asking it because like when you think about creating, you have to really remove constraints, right? And I think when you remove constraints, that's when you can find really create something from nothing, truly to be unique. Because I think a lot of folks get trapped in, especially if you're starting a business, they try to copy, and
there's too many parameters. You keep yourself in a box with too many rules.
It's risk. It's people don't want to take the true risk. But when you really create, and this is kind of why I asked that question, you really have to think like kind of what you just said. You think of the realm of possibilities. Mm-hmm. And then you just put a dot that's really far out there and be like, okay, we're going to start from there. Mm-hmm. It may not go anywhere. There's a very high chance not going, but that's not the point. It's just you just start from there and see what happens.
Yeah. And sometimes constraints are helpful with creativity, because if you have just a complete blank canvas.
It's like what you said, our human brains can't really comprehend the bigness of what that possibility is. And I feel like you kind of feel like you're drowning.
Yeah, it's like, well, paint anything. I don't know, but paint something green.
Wouldn't that be the output, though? Wouldn't the output be a constraint? Because I always found like the best ideas do come from the open possibility, but then as you iterate, you actually add a constraint. So eventually you get to somewhere. But if you add, at least in my experience, if you add the constraint in the beginning, it often starts as a whimper. And it's like, it kind of goes nowhere. And you just shelve the idea for a bit.
I will also say this. This feels related in my brain. Maybe it's not. The way that I have also, I think you asked earlier about like burnout and the sort of chaos, and I would say perhaps another way of putting it is ambiguity. And a lot of entrepreneurship, founding anything, there's a lot of ambiguity. And our brains are not very well designed for ambiguity. Like our brains just don't love ambiguity. And so it's interesting because in my career, if you look, like we've talked, I'm like, there's a lot of ambiguity and what's next and a job and thing and what and who, and like very kind of all over the place, and a lot of ambiguity professionally. I personally tend to not love ambiguity really. And you have known me for a long time. Like I have very little ambiguity everywhere else in my life. Like I'm very regimented. I like to the point of like eating scheduled. The same thing every day. Very scheduled. Like we hung out last night, and because the time of our reservation moved back 30 minutes, you declined my meeting invite. Do you know that this happened? Because it was no longer at the same time. Do you know you did that? Oh, so because I was going in the calendar because you had the thing in it, and it was going to only change on my calendar, and I wanted you to have the address, but I didn't create it. Because I was like, oh, okay. So then I had to reset it for the actual time of the reservation. Because I was updating my calendar. Regimented, which is exactly like my husband, which is why you two are best friends. It's color coordinated. If something moves by 5 minutes, he will update the calendar invite to
the same thing. No, Ben, that's very common.
Because I over the years have realized like, I think it's partly what allows me to have a lot of ambiguity in other places. Yes. Because I remove ambiguity. Like I get anything that's needed is filed on time. And like my car's oil gets changed. And when I'm at the dentist, I schedule the dentist for next so that I don't have to think about it. There's chaos within structure. Yeah. And that's how I have to exist, especially in motherhood. I talk about this all the time in motherhood. There's so much ambiguity in motherhood, and there's so much that needs to just feel out of control, and the kids always feel out of control. And so shifting from that like control parenthood model that I've been healing from to just like the guide, and I'm going to walk alongside you. This is what connected in my brain. I tell Trent often, I'm like, I am OCDing right now around the house, and I'm picking up and organizing and doing this stuff because everything over here feels really dysregulated and out of control. And so I feel that too. Like everything else in my world, in my environment that I can immediately control, I have to because something else, but it's always a yin and yang. There's always a balance. Like that, if the house feels out of control and I can't manage shit, and I'm like, I'm not going to the grocery store for weeks. Like I can't, because for whatever reason in my nervous system, I can't. But everything in my work life is like beautifully working out and scheduled. There's always a plus or minus somewhere. And I think that that's so true. To be a founder, to be a creator of something, to have all of that flexibility, you also still have to have some type of control in something else. I think so. It's like your exercise, your diet, like you get to the gym. The gym is my saving grace. I'm like, I'm hanging on. Like if I'm not there 3 times a week right now, I'm like, oh shit, everything is out of control in my life.
Hold on. I'll contest this. Maybe I'm an outlier. I would probably say I am pretty chaotic. I mean, you know me, and you send me things, and then I don't really it'll be the last minute when everything. 10 seconds before
the thing, Matt's like, accept. I'm like, oh, you are going to be there. Okay,
100%. Cool. Everything always works. And
like I still do stuff last minute. Like my wife and I are very different like this. Like we're both nerds, right? We're both valedictorians, but we joke about it because the day she got the syllabus would start working on the assignments and the paper. Through the end of college, there's not a single paper that I wrote sooner than the night before it was due. I don't care how long it was, 10 pages, 12, 15 pages. And I pulled some all-nighters, and I'm not recommending this, but I'm like, I'd stay up all night. I need that pressure. Yeah. And it's not my favorite. It came in a work project recently where I got super stressed, and I was kind of dysregulated because I had put it off, and then I got it all done, and it was great. And I'm working on rewiring some of that because I'm I don't love that. But so I do still, there's a lot of regiment and as you mentioned, there's all this chaos and so much going on. But so I try to reduce the ambiguity as much as possible. And it does sometimes mean the last minute ambiguity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think as we get older, because experience kind of calls in, I think it naturally makes sense to become a little bit, you go towards less chaos. But I'm currently I kind of still operate as in my 20s. So everything is 100% chaos, last minute. And I did consulting for a bit. Same thing. These are $200,000, $300,000 projects. And if I'm a key person of it, I'm like, okay, if I'm a blocker for something, oh yeah, I'll just get it done last minute. And makes no sense, makes zero sense to do it. but that's just how I get not the A+ version of me, like the S tier, the highest possible tier that's not even on the scale. That's how you get that quality out, because that pressure, if I do it ahead of time, I'm like, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, I really, so this is interesting. This is actually a really fascinating topic. I'm glad that we got into this. I've never actually talked about this with anyone. That's cool. I actually, there's a hummingbird outside. Sorry, this is beautiful. I wish you could see this view. That's so beautiful. Okay, I got distracted. This is Anne, ADHD. Here we go. I'm having a day. Okay, so I love this thought process of, is it a bad thing that procrastination is your superpower? And I actually have been thinking about this a lot, because I am the same way. And I don't know many people who are in my line of work, and they're like, really, Anne? Like, same with you, Matt. Like, it could be, $100,000 or something on the line. That doesn't actually give me the pressure. Like, the larger the scale or the larger the financial impact or whatever, that's not the pressure that I still need to bring that A game. It literally is, my best A game is last minute. And I too, any big assignment, if you give me more time on it, it's actually a detriment to the success of that, because it's just going to linger longer for me. And I had the shame and the guilt for longer that it was self-inflicted. If I'm like, this is sitting over here and I know I have to do it, and I'm going to ignore it. And so I think I've come to terms at finally almost 42 years of age and say, fuck it. I love that about me. And actually that's my superpower, is I work so well under pressure that actually in different moments in personal and work life, people are astounded. They'll see something and I pull that shit together in the last 5 minutes and then go perform, and they're like, and I'm like, oh, this really is my superpower. And like, here's an example. I was supposed to do this whole presentation in a meeting on all of my companies in this like networking group. And it wasn't really like a huge thing, but I was supposed to like kick off with a 10 to 20 minute presentation. And I had it on my calendar for a week, and I knew, and every single day I kept bumping the task because something, I was like, yeah, I'll get. But there was a part of my intuition that knew that I was going to perform on that task, because I have so much trust with my execution on things, because I'm also a high achiever. And I think when you are that way, you're like, I can trust that it's going to get done. I loved that. So instead of having the shame that I used to have earlier in my career of like, oh my gosh, I'm such a failure, I keep pushing this off, I now know myself well enough to say, actually, the closer we get to the thing, that pressure is what I need to thrive. And I think that's why I did so well in theater too, growing up. Like, I would it wasn't like winging it. It was trusting that I would, practice, rehearse, know the lines, do the work, but like I didn't fully show up until game time. Like, and then you just bring it, because that pressure I love. Like when everybody gets the pit in their stomach to go on stage or speak, I'm like, I fucking love that. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, like it's like my energy. I don't know. And that's how I feel with work. And so I pulled out 10 minutes before that meeting. I literally finished a call and then like literally used an AI tool and just built the most kick-ass presentation. I got so many follow-ups from it. I just presented it like a boss. And all these people were like, that was the best presentation I've ever seen on one of these meetings. And I'm like, really? So I think we have to shift our focus, because this is a huge, huge point of like using procrastination as the thing that's going to make your greatness shine.
Hold on. I want to add two things, and I want to hear Ben's opinion on this. One is procrastination. The term, my opinion on it, it's only procrastination if you actually don't fulfill your goal by doing it. Because then you have a reason to say, I didn't finish because I procrastinated. But if you did finish, the idea of procrastination never existed.
Oh.
So the other piece to it is, and this is why I play competitive table tennis, is how do you trigger your flow state without the need of an external factor? Yeah. Right? So if your baseline, so a lot of people's baseline is they only get that fight or flight when their back is behind the wall. Yeah. So the goal is how do you increase your baseline so you don't need to be your back behind the wall, but still to say, okay, it's time to be serious right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay? And that's a different game. I practice that in table tennis a lot because it's the same flow state you need for business. It's literally like if I need like to do something I really don't want to do or do something that's really fuzzy, I have to be like, I need to go from yellow to green. I don't need to go from yellow to red, then to green. That's too much energy wasted.
Interesting.
So that's like kind of my opinion. Ben, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I think often a behavior can be healthy or unhealthy and look identical. And I think there are times when in a healthy way,
basically.
in a healthy way, my brain is like working through, like I'm actually, as I'm delaying that task, my brain is still thinking about it in the presentation and the thing, especially for me, like external presentation type things. There's a decent amount of ruminating that actually is creative work that is happening in the background. So I think sometimes in a healthy way, like, yeah, I'm procrastinating or putting it off, but like I am actually thinking about it and whatever. There's also an unhealthy part that is that like, oh, I've trained myself to need to have my back against the wall. And I know that that will get me into my flow state, but is there a way that I could avoid some of that shame and guilt, stress, or otherwise, and still end up in that flow state? So that to me is what I'm working on simultaneously as a leader, looking at when it does or doesn't impact other people. Because when it just impacts me, I don't mind it. I'll do a night in the thing, whatever. Like, but if it's now screwing over my team and now my team is super stressed, or
it could be your family, it could be really
my family,
more things, right?
Absolutely. So like that to me is where I'm, especially as I've gotten somewhat older and wiser and realize how little I actually know about anything. Okay, if this is impacting my team negatively, that's different. And I get to be more thoughtful about my impact on them.
Yeah.
And have gotten better and better and better at delegating systems, structures, other humans, which has been hard because a lot of what allowed me to have successful companies that grew was that I was willing to do everything, right? From scrub the toilet to build the website, to call the thing, to do the fun presentation, to try, like, I'll do it all. I'm willing to do it all. There weren't other people to do it. That's what allowed us to start it up and get there. But now if I'm trying to do it all, that's going to hold us back because I need to be focused on the bigger picture things, the idea, the whatever, bringing in new people, getting them. And I see that now when I look around, I'm like, oh, this person is so much smarter than me at this. This person is so much better at me than this. That's fantastic. That's the way it should be. And how do I make sure that I'm enabling them? But it has been trippy because there's that part of my brain that's like, no. But the way that success happens is that I spend more hours than anyone and I do all of it because that did work.
And now you're trying to rewire what success looks like when you have the resources to have the help.
Yep.
Yeah.
And especially as you grow, right? When you're at complete blank slate, no money, no income, no anything, you're creating from nothing. Like that's very different than, hey, we do have money and we do have revenue, and then it's about profits, and then it's about growth. And at each, I have found there was a big jump from 0 to 6 figures ish. From like 100,000 to 1 million is its own journey, and then 1 million to, depends on the company, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there is like requires a totally different skill set. And then from there to 10x that is like, and each of those require something very different from you as the founder, a very different mindset. This is the E-Myth revisited, classic, to me, that was my takeaway. And I have found that to be very true.
Interesting. Do you want to talk about your social media company? Because that's a whole other thing that we haven't talked about.
Sure.
When did you found that?
So I didn't. So that the gentleman who founded it had started the company like maybe a year and a half.
Gotcha.
And then I met him and then we sort of restarted. Like, so it did exist, but he'd never started a company before. He was very, very brilliant and great at marketing and great at sales. But so then it went from kind of what it was to then 100% of the people left other than him and his partner and me. And we basically started over. And I was like, hey, let's turn this into an actual company. and it completely changed the model. And so it did exist. So
you were COO there?
Yeah.
So he was all the creator, like marketing, sales, vision, and you came in and brought the structure.
Yeah. Yeah. But so it kind of started over. So I'm not trying to take credit as the founder of that, because I really wasn't, but it was the same skills of, hey, you founded this thing. I've been down this road before. If you keep doing what you're doing, it's going to be gone. This is not going to work. And it's certainly not going to grow. And so then came in and was able to put in systems and structure and thing and 10x from that sort of small starting point.
What was the runway for you coming in as an ops person to someone's chaos, we'll say, right? Because the founder journey of the visionary can be somewhat ambiguous. We've been using that word. What was your runway of like 3 months, 6 months? Like how long did it take you to come on board to restart and really get some success?
It happened pretty quickly, and we were especially early on, we were pretty on the same page, and there was a lot of collaboration. I think he really put a lot of trust in what I was up to, and had a lot of successes. I think early on, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, this is working. He knows what he's doing. This is great. Mm-hmm. I will say, long term, it didn't work out because we had different visions. Mm-hmm. And
did you guys dissolve?
No, I essentially left.
Gotcha.
And he is still running that company, though once I left, it sort of changed dramatically into what I think of as a sort of different company. It's the same banner, but it's a completely different model, and it's a different focus, and all new people, and so a very different shift. But so that was a reminder, because I think I had chosen to focus on that business because I really liked social media, and it was entertainment and social media and marketing, and I liked what we were doing, and I chose that over the people I was working with, and I got to learn that lesson again. That was like, oh no, it always matters more who I'm working with than what we're doing.
How long were you there?
6 years.
Oh. Do you think that you stayed too long, or do you think you left when you felt the pull to?
Looking back, it's always so hard to look back, right? Like looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I think I stayed too long. Knowing what I know now, looking back, I don't know if I ever would have done that partnership. And I learned so much and got to bring in and work with a ton of cool people many of whom I'm still working with and bringing on to new things. And it's what led me to my current job. Mm-hmm. And who knows, if I hadn't been doing that, I don't know if I would have met my wife. Like, right. Do you know what I mean? So I don't.
It's a butterfly effect of how that transpired.
Yeah. So I don't have like regret, but looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I overstayed, and I didn't stand up for my value enough, and I was underpaid and didn't put in place. I gave too much trust that I'd be taken care of the way that I would take care of other people. And then that didn't happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would never start something again at that level without, and I knew this going in, and then I just ignored myself. It's like, oh, I need an operating agreement. Not because I don't trust people, but because we're human.
Good business.
It's good business. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got to learn that lesson again. Like I knew it. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. Whatever, it's all good. And then it ultimately wasn't. So, lessons.
So if you were to start another company, I know you said something in a year or two, you're going to acquire something.
Yeah, that's the plan, is to go buy a business.
So we talk about like build it or buy it, right?
Yeah.
So at this point in your career, would you start another business from ground zero, or would you rather acquire?
In this moment, I would rather acquire. And it's not that I wouldn't start another business at some point. It's that with a family and kids and wanting to spend time on acting and my other creative stuff, there's a level of financial stability that I want for my life and my family. Mm-hmm. And I would rather prioritize that. And I could very much see, as that happens, mm-hmm. I could see then also maybe starting something else from scratch potentially.
It's kind of like using it as a foundation, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Now,
foundation.
I may also do that and be like, yeah, this was super cool. I'm going to go keep doing that. Like I think the most likely outcome is that I will keep acquiring and ultimately end up with a portfolio of businesses and managing, growing that. And, all that. I'm actually working with Will again, and that's he's
cool.
supporting people in doing that. And he's bought and sold a number of businesses. And so I'm working with him. And, and then one of my buddies from our first company that we'd hired, who I'd stayed friends with and coaching, and he's came back and now they're working together. And,
so it's all the right people.
Erin Kiefer was our one of our first employees, and we still connect, and she connected me with some great coaching people. And I share all this only to say, like, it's really amazing humans continue to come into those orbits. And so my default setting is like that I would acquire something because of the finances and the cash flow nature of it and the amount of time that I have that I want to prioritize in my life right now. I'm like, I'm maximizing time with my family. We're about to have a baby. I really want to maximize that. So for those reasons, I would acquire. But I'm open to starting something from scratch again. But it's more about a lifestyle and priority than it is.
Ben, I think I'm on the similar path. Now, I'm not starting a family, but my own company, it is more of a launch pad of where I go next. It's less of like, let's do a whole new startup. Let's take like these huge random risks. My company's on a pretty good trajectory, but I'm using it as I want to start something cool, but I want to do it on my own terms. I don't want to raise a bunch of money from other folks. I don't really want to report to a bunch of people in a new company. I'd rather be like, okay, my company basically just gave me my own seed money that then I can do this crazy idea, which has no chance of working, but at least I'm going to have fun doing it.
Now, do you already have an idea for what that new thing is?
Our idea keeps changing, so I don't know. Whatever I say now doesn't really matter, and because by the time I'm really doing it to do it, it's probably going to be something maybe relevant to the zeitgeist at that point. At that moment.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love that concept of the thing you're working on now. You're using as seed money for the thing you want to be working on in the future.
Well, because I've done so many startups, so it's like I don't really want to go through the same battle of like figure out funding. That is the most. I have a successful company now. All I have to do is just even make it more successful. I mean, I could do it now, but I can just make it more successful. It's very. I don't want to say it's like very non-risky. I still have to take risk, but it's like it's safe because I got a proven product. I've got thousands of customers. Just get more thousands of customers, and it's generally resistant to this whole AI stuff. So it's like I'm good. I just need to keep building on it and staying a little bit above the trend. So it's like, I don't need to take these like, let's sell it, right? Sell it, then have nothing. And then take, in my brain, if I sell the company for $10 million, I'm going to do something stupid and my startup cost will be 10 million. And I have zero, right?
And be back to nothing.
Basically back to nothing, because that's just how I operate. So it's like, in order for me to not go into that realm again, because I don't have infinite energy anymore, I'm just going to use ChipBot as like, okay, Chip, my company will give me $250,000 and that's the seed money, and then just go have fun, right?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, great. There's another $250,000 in the next 2-3 years, go try again.
Yeah, it's like a bank account. You're looking at your business as a bank account that you're just growing your own asset.
It's a venture. I would say more like a venture, right?
Okay.
It's a step. My own company is a foundational stepping stone. It is at the super, super high level, but kind of like a universal level. It is a 0 to 1 in a lot of ways, because the next $10 million, $100 million idea, if I have one, will come because I have a very safe foundation. Yeah. Where I'm not scared to fail, like a substantial amount of money.
But that's amazing. Like ChipBot has become what we used to call in our 20s, that safe job where you're like, we'll start your own thing, moonlighting.
It wasn't safe like that originally. I mean,
but that's the thing. You founded it and grown it in a way that now it's your safe space of like your day job that you're now going to moonlight something else with seed money. That's a really amazing concept for me to think about, because we were all talking about earlier in our careers of being founders, if you were employed, like what is that safety net for you to then go off and do something that you really want to be doing, and you're moonlighting, right? But you've created that safety net for yourself, which is amazing. And it's what, 4 years in?
No, it's 7 going into 8. And then
Oh,
keep in mind, 3 years, I made zero money.
that's what I was thinking. Okay. Yeah. Cause you said your first 3 years, it was nothing. And then your
Just
fourth
like,
year,
let's just have this pretend job basically.
Mhm.
And it's like, and then obviously do some consulting to actually pay for the bills. But
right.
yeah, for 3 years, it was like total dog water. I wouldn't recommend any. I mean, you should really quit after 6 months, but I'm not.
He says it all the time. He's like, don't do what I did. Like, if it's not working, you quit.
Yeah, just double down. Just do more. I think it's challenging, though, because for me, there's so much excitement in the novelty and the creation and the blank slate. Yeah. And so it's very easy to then like sabotage because it's odd to go from that to, hey, how do I create the maximum amount of stability and predictability, particularly for the entity, for the business, for the other people. Like even if I want this thing, whatever, but I see that with so many founders where that the strength of energy and new thing. Well, what about this? And now we chase that. But then you're just always chasing and then you never get to the level of success of the business that could launch the next 10 to 100 and to have a level of stability to take even bigger risks. Like even if the goal is to take big risks, I mean, having, like I had enough money and privilege when I graduated college just as a human, like I'm very aware of the privilege I had that allowed me to take risks where I knew I'm never going to be homeless. If something happens, my dad, like we don't come from crazy money, but I'm not going to be homeless. Like I'm not going to get evicted. Like I can ask my dad, hey, can you send me $1,000? Like that's a big deal. Most people don't have that, or certainly a lot of people don't have that. Mm-hmm. But so for me, I was fortunate that early on I had, some of that from my family. But what I hear you saying, which I think is so great, is like, hey, I've kind of created that now 7 years in. I have this level of safety net, or whether you're being employed or otherwise. And I think that can allow you to do things that are more creative, to take bigger risks, to take bigger swings. Because you're like, you know what, if it fails and it completely goes to zero, like I'm going to be okay. And in fact, I could probably go do it again. Mm-hmm. And when you're like, if this fails, I'm screwed and I'm moving back to in with my parents at 45 and my partner will leave me, like that's a different calculus. And then you understandably may not take that risk. I get it.
That's careless. I think that's the point of carelessness versus riskiness, because like you're impacting a way more people than now yourself. Going back to your other point, so there's a line in the sand where you have to figure out the 3 years I'm not making money. The very little consulting I did, I could just work for 1 month and it pays for a year's worth of salary. So that was like I was okay with the issue of my main idea not making money, because I can still support everyone around me that I need to. So I was able to take that risk. If I wasn't able to do that, then I would have for sure quit sooner, because I'm like, I can't let my girlfriend at the time, like she's gonna dump me or whatever. So like I need to make sure things are good.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out that the 3-year gap in your business to me matches very much with acting, right? It's the same startup where you're like, hey, for years, either you're not making money or you're certainly not making enough money that's the thing you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think creative careers, I'm like, it's a startup. It's the same deal where unless you have venture funding, which again, how did you get that, right? So, and a creative career then means your family has lots of money, you have a rich aunt, whatever. And if you do awesome, like good for you, hit me up. I got some businesses for you.
Personal loans.
But to me, I think that's so similar and figuring out how can you sustain yourself through those 3 years to now look where you are now. And you're like, well, now this is great. And I think a lot of people would look and be like, oh my God, if I could have a business that I ran, that I wasn't really reporting people and I was making whatever X number of dollars, like, that's amazing. And it's like, yeah. And are you willing and able to have 3 years where there's no money?
Right.
And might have gone to zero. And then you'd have to do something else to do those things. And that's a lot. And there's a lot of challenge that comes with that. And I think it's worth it, but I get that it's not for everybody. And I think that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
The one unique factor with it, this is like my 5th or 6th business. And every previous one, except the very first one, I've always had co-founders and they've always made money right away.
Yeah.
there's two ways to look at it. You can be like, I'm only going to work in teams because I don't want to suffer for 3 years. And usually when you work in teams, there's going to be often either one's going to be pragmatic or one's going to be so chaotic that it can't last long in the first place. Right? Good. So things will end abruptly, and then you just just play the odds game, keep doing startups with another co-founder, and you eventually find one. There's that path too that I think can also work, because it allows you to basically say, always create. The problem is you eventually get in this dream of keep chasing, because every time if you're creating too often, you are also looking at what other people are creating. Like, it's inevitable. You're just going to look at other folks. Yeah. And it's like, well, maybe we should do that and do a variation of that. I think when you take longer, at least if you're solo, you kind of have to take the longer approach, because you're also learning things that you don't know, and what you don't know, you don't really. For me, I didn't know when to quit, because like, I still believe this thing could work, right? So I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
Versus when you have a co-founder, when you have people around you that have equal or a significant amount of equity in whatever you're doing, doesn't even have to be a business, then there's another voice that can counter, that can be like, maybe you shouldn't do this, or give you different advice. When you're alone, and this is where I kind of maybe see the acting perspective you're saying, it's just you. So you kind of have to go through the suffer stage. And unfortunately, I had to go through this much later. I did this when I was starting 28. Kind of wish I did this when I was 22, because it would have been way easier.
Yeah. Fascinating. Awesome. Well, this feels like a really nice endpoint to this amazing conversation. Do you have any other questions for Ben?
Ben, where are you? What's next on? What's the next 5 years look like for you? What are you working on next? I know you're going to buy business, but is it just family? Is it just going to be family kind of the next 5 years?
Number one priority is family, and being the best dad and stepdad and partner that I can be, particularly in those early years. And, during that time, my stepkids will be getting to the end of high school and launching into the world. And so in terms of like priority, that's really where my mindset is. And so the other endeavors are through that lens. If I were going to predict, which is odd, because if I look back 5 years, 10 years, I'm like, who knows? But I think the most likely next 5 years is that we 10x the nonprofit and grow that. And I have a lot of things I want to do that are very entrepreneurial and revenue stream. We have a revenue model already. I want to buy a cash flow business with that entity and grow. Anyway, so like taking all those same things and massively increasing that, buying my own business, and in the next 5 years, businesses, to really have my own like cash flow sustainability for the family. And then at the end of that 5 years, like, I don't know, I think part of me would really hope that I would have, like, that I might get the nonprofit to a place where I'm like, this has outgrown my ability. Let's get someone who can 10x it to that. Or if nothing else, that, hey, it's now sustainable and I'm confident that it will exist, and I can step away and spend that much more time acting, maybe producing, or like really coming back to like when I started and I was putting a lot of time and energy into that career. I'd love to do that again at some point, but it would probably be when all the kids are in school and, everything's taken care of on the home front.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Ben, tell everybody where they can find you. This is your time to plug all of the handles, all of the things.
At Ben Whitehair on all the socials. That's probably the easiest place. Going into the family time, I'm less and less on social media. Also my website, you've got some information there, benwhitehair.com. If you're interested in a creative career, the website working.actor is the online business academy and coaching community that we started, that's really about the business side of show business. So if you're like, I want to be an actor, but what the heck does that mean? Where do I start? I've taken some classes, but like, what do you mean? I have an agent at working.actor. Go there. If you care about women and men and dismantling the patriarchy, and you're passionate about music, check out Calling All Crows. Incredible organization, and we're doing some really, really amazing things. Anybody, if you're in Boston, our big annual benefit weekend is happening on March 21st, but we're doing a lot. There's a lot of very exciting things that are happening there. So go sign up for our email newsletter and follow us on socials and see what we're up to as an organization.
Love that.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for coming on the podcast. This is great. I'm happy to just learn. I'm like excited to learn from you because there's a couple takeaways I got from this conversation. So I'm really,
I love
really
that.
glad you.
I love that. Well, thank you for having me. It was a very dynamic. We got to like go all over, which I experience as most founders have that. Like, God dang, I'm hearing this because I did this and that thing, whatever. And I really enjoy that. And I think my wife was like, "You're insane," and this like makes no sense to me, and I don't get it. But such a delight to be amongst like-minded, diverse, and creative people. And I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, agreed. It's great. I always think these conversations between founders and among founders is so important because it makes you feel normal for how crazy often you are perceived by other people who are not founders. And I often feel like we can take everything, like you're on this highway and you can take all the offshoots and all the side streets, and then somehow we all still get back onto the highway and we have this streamlined thought. And I think that that's founder life. Like you have the ability of enmeshing all of these different topics together, and then you still have like a common theme. You're like, holy shit, how did we do that? How did we get there? But that's kind of founder life, right? So I've loved this conversation. Thank you.
When you said highway, I think of my highway upside down. The car, everything's upside down. I was like, I'm not the highway. I'm the upside down.
Are you in the upside down?
Yeah, I'm upside down, and the off ramps are portals to a whole other dimension.
With the aliens that we've all discussed. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ben. And thank you guys. That does it for today's episode of OnlyFounders. We'll see you next time.
Cool. Thanks.